All right. So today we are going to see with where clause. Where is the most important or most used clause inside a query? Because whenever you wanted to filter out your data, I mean whatever the query has written to you. For example, I would fire a query. Let's consider I'm designing a query on account object. I would write like select, let's say ID, let's say name, maybe the rating, and I'm getting all this from account, right? So let's say rating or the value of industry, the value of like active status, value of ownership, value of ownership. Yeah, I wanted the value of let's say phone. I maybe wanted the value of fax. I maybe wanted the value of billing address, right? So if I'm fetching all this, right, I'm fetching all this from the account object, and if I try to fire this query, now this is going to return me, all returns. This is going to return me all returns. But let's consider I'm not interested to look in everything. Rather, I wanted to minimize my search based on certain things. And you did this. You already did this. Like if you remember that we learn how what does enhanced list view or simple view means, and how you could create. I mean, for example, from here as well, if you try to go, then you're going to see that it has fetched you all 137 records. Now let's say you're not interested in everything. You just simply wanted to see maybe those accounts where the rating is hot, right? Or maybe you wanted to see only those accounts where the industry value is banking. Understood? So whenever we are interested in a specific set of data, we are interested in a specific set of data so that we could minimize our search. And I wanted to see that query outcome should be particularly only that specific record. So we make a use of where clause. So where is very important. Where is a very important clause that is used to minimize the search to particularly get a specific set of data. Now let's say here I don't wanted to see everything. Rather, I wanted to see only those account records where the value of industry, see I'm giving this, where industry, all right, equals to what? Banking. Because banking is a pick list is a text. So I am including that in a single inverted comma, banking. See, even though the option also has been suggested, right? Options. For example, if you would go like education, when you type ED, so even what are the options inside in the industry, they are being listed out. But that is what is a benefit. I always used to say, try to make a use of Salesforce Inspector very extensively because this is a very interesting tool. It's provide you a lot of help even. So now one more feature have been identified. Like if you are like for example using a pick list value, so and you're trying example what are the values over, you exactly don't know, so even those things are being highlighted over here. So, all right, so when the value of this is, let's say it's education, see all the values with they have been identified. You see wherever there is an ed, these all are the values inside the pick list called industry. These all are the values where you can see ed, right? So I'm selecting for example like education. So I wanted to minimize my search. I wanted to minimize my search. I wanted to minimize my search, and I just wanted to look into those records of account where the value of industry is to education. So let me try to export this once again. And out of 137 record, there are those 11 records have been exported where the value of industry is, you can see, education. So typically now you would have understand that where clause is a very important clause whenever we minimize our search to a particular set of records. That was the first thing. I'm going to include one more thing into this, but first of all, let's understand. So this is like, this is like use of where clause. an SOQL query, and you have to write down where after that put up your conditions. Put up your conditions. Now that was when if you have a single condition. But let's consider I wanted to have multiple conditions. So how exactly I can use multiple conditions? How exactly I can impose multiple conditions? For that, we have two operators. The first is AND operator, the second is OR operator, or there are actually three operators. And this one is called as NOT operator. Not, not. All right, let me try to show you that as well. So if we have multiple conditions, if you wanted to combine them, if you wanted to club them, wanted to concatenate them in a single, then you inside in your where clause, you can use something called as operators. So where there are three operators, AND operator, and so for AND you have this symbol, and this is present on which key? On number 7 key. Number 7 key of the keyboard, by the way. OR operator, two pipe symbols. There's a special key for that. I guess with the backslash you can going to get this with the shift key. And this is exclamation symbol. It's usually present on number 1 key. Right. Let me now show you how we can make a use of those. Anyways, now see example. If I wanted to see, let's say I don't wanted to see those account record whose industry is banking. So what I can do would be over here is like, I can make a use of symbol not. So not equals to education, not equals to education. So apart from education, all others have been exported. So the education, I mean, all those records where the industry value is education or let's say banking, so only those records have been skipped and rest everything other. See, education and I mean all these. And for example, now if you wanted, if you wanted to arrange them in ascending order, what else you can do? Order by. Order by is used to arrange them, right? You can arrange them in like, from the name you can arrange them, or maybe for the with the value of industry also you can arrange them. So see what happens when I'll fire this query. So when I'll fire this query, so now the result, what is my result right now? All those accounts record where the industry is not equals to banking, first of all, they have been listed out. And that to be, they are being arranged. They are being arranged in ascending order. Based on which column? Based on industry. Based on industry. It's not based on name. As you can see, I mean, the first record itself is test, right? So it's not, obviously, it's not being arranged with the name column. Rather, they are arranged in the industry. So those who are blank, and then A, after A, it's like B and C. So likewise, you can extend your query as well, right? So that was about not operator. That was about not operator. For example, if you wanted to see those records where the industry, where the value of rating, let's say, is not equals to hot, you don't want it to see those records of account where the industry, where the rating value is hot. So apart from rating hot, right, all others have been displayed cold, warm, blank, right? This have been displayed. So this is how you can make a use of not operator. And now let me try to show you about and or as well. So that was not. Let's make a use of and. So for example, I wanted to see that those accounts record, let's say where the value of industry is banking, value of industry equals to, let's say, banking, and those records where the value of the rating is hot. All right. So along with banking, I wanted to see those accounts record, those who are having rating as hot. So now I have two conditions. So I'm obviously not going to repeat where clause, where industry is banking and like uh, where this rating equals to what. So where should be only once. The operators are only once. Clauses we only use once. I mean, to have more conditions, we have certain things called as and operator. So I'll put up and over here. And now the second is rating. So rating equals to rating equals to hot. Okay. So these like the two conditions I have combined. Now, if I would try to export this unexpected token and right, let me try with this. So in Salesforce Inspector, it's not allowing you have the and, but that is something you can use inside in your programs. Inside in your programs, right? You cannot use A and D. That time it would give you the error. There's a slight difference, try to understand that. So if you are using this inside a program, you have to use this. Whereas if you are using this inside Salesforce Inspector, you have to use and. And I guess there's no error with not. Not operator is common, so we can use this. Let me try with or right. Anyways, so now we are looking into those records where the value of rating, as you can see, is hot and a value of industry is banking. So the combination of those records where these two values satisfies. Now you are looking into only those accounts records, particularly where these two conditions are matching, and rest everything other than this have been excluded. Right? Have been excluded. So particularly we are looking into only those accounts record where these two conditions are matching. And what are these? Every such of a kind of account where the value of industry is banking along with rating equals to 1. So we are looking into only those, and by the way, there are only 6 records. Right? That is what does it means. Now let me try with, for example, or operator. So I guess again, if you would try with this, it's going to give you the error over here, but the same symbol we use inside program. So I guess this is going to give me the error, but let's try with this. So where industry is banking or industry equals to industry equals to, let me say as education, right? So yes, this is unexpected symbol. So I'll replace it with or, simple or. And let me now try to export this. So now we are looking into those records of account where either the industry value is banking or it's education right? So this is what, whenever you have multiple conditions, you wanted to combine them. Now it depends, like, see, the use of and or. What is the major difference between and or? And would put up like a compulsion. Like if I have like condition 1 and condition 2. So majorly, what is the difference? Let's try to understand. It's very simple. This is not a rocket science. So if you would apply and, it would put up a compulsion, like statement 1 and statement 2, expression 1 and expression 2, condition 1 and condition 2. So both of them have to be satisfied. Like in the previous query here, I have put up like industry is banking and rating is hot. So what has happened in that case? Only those records of account have been fetched where the value of industry was banking and compulsorily the rating was hot. So and actually put up a compulsion that both of the condition have to be satisfied. Right? So that is what is an and operator. Now, if you would have put up an or over here, right? If you have put up an or, so it's actually trying to fetch those, but but let me try to show you. Yeah. So it would try to fetch those records of account where either the industry is banking, if it is not banking, or it could be education. Even if, let me try. So this would see, actually this is an exception. If even a single would satisfy, like maybe like, let's consider this is as expression 1 and let's consider this one as expression number 2. So even a single expression would satisfy. Even a single, like either the industry's banking is true or if industry's education is true. So that is going to be get picked up. That is going to be picked. So that is what is a major difference between and or. And would put up a compulsion that both expression needs to be get satisfied. Whereas or would make either of one condition, even the one condition, a single condition or both condition are satisfied, then it's going to give you the result. So that is majorly is what a difference between and or. All right. So that was about like where operator. That was about where operator, and we have three more things in and I have like but I guess they are going to be get discussed in dynamic queries. We have to discuss a few more operators. The one is in like these are we already have used. No, wildcards we don't have used. All right. So we already have a discussion about all of them. Like what is the use of where group by having all the clauses. Now I have to show you in like an operator. But this is I'm going to cover this inside dynamic SOQL. It's all right. So let me have a quick recap once again. So there are two different forms of queries, static queries and dynamic queries. There are two different forms of queries, static query and dynamic query. Now we have completed with this part, static queries. So what is a static query? Every SQL query, if inside in your program, if you have written it inside a square bracket, that query is called to be the static queries. Now we are going to start with the next topic, and that is dynamic query. So majorly what is the purpose of dynamic query we're going to discuss, but just to identify like which query is called to be static and dynamic. So every such a query which have been imposed, which have been written, which have been enclosed within this square bracket is called to be a static query, and the query which are going to be get enclosed within a single inverted comma, the quotes, this type of query is called to be the dynamic. And then, I mean, this is just about appearance, right? This is exactly is not a difference. This is just a single point of that. We'll have to understand majorly what are the differences between a static and a dynamic. And this is not just have to understand, you'll have to write it down. You'll have to, in fact, you'll have to remember this because this is also an interview question. This is also an interview question that what is the majorly, what are the differences between the static query and dynamic query. And apart from the differences, they also sometimes they could also ask you in which particularly in which circumstances in the real time you're going to make a use of static query, and particularly in which circumstances you're going to make a use of dynamic query. So apart from understanding like how does SQL, how does static SQL and a dynamic SQL looks like to be, we also would have to understand. I mean, there are three things in rows which you will have to remember. Point number one, how does a static and a dynamic query looks like to me? So that is being cleared over here itself. Where static query is always is being viewed inside a square bracket. Dynamic queries, they are always enclosed. They are always seen within this single quotes, right? So that was the first point. Now, second point, what are the differences between a static and a dynamic query that I'm going to discuss during our minute. And third, which is absolutely more important, is under which circumstances in real time you will going to make a use of static query or dynamic query. So these are three things in rows which we have to understand about this. So static query part is completed. We have completed everything related to this apart from operators. This I'm going to cover inside your dynamic query. But apart from this, how to write a static query and how we can use these clauses. Acha, clauses can be used in both of them. Everything, see, everything over here from here to this can be used in both of the queries. ऐसा मत सोचिए आपकी मैंने स्टैटिक क्वेरी में पढ़ाया तो आप डायनामिक में ये यूज नहीं कर सकते, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Static and dynamic, the format is same. The format is same. Select वहां भी use होना है, ठीक है. So it's everything that whatever you have studied is same and can be applied in both of the queries. You can apply every clauses, this where clause group by having. You can apply every clause in static and dynamic. You can make a use of operators like this in like, or just now you have understood like there are few more operators, and operator or operator, not operators, right? You can apply them everywhere. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आप उसको स्टैटिक में यूज कर सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ, वो अलग चीज है कि मैंने स्टैटिक में पढ़ा है उसको, बट हम डायनामिक में भी ये चीजें अप्लाई करके देख लेंगे, राइट? सो इफ यू हैव अ लिटिल कंफ्यूजन अबाउट दिस, यू कैन ड्रॉप इट जस्ट राइट नाउ। इसको आप अभी के अभी ड्रॉप करो। The operators and the clauses can be used in both of them. Either it's a static query, either it's a dynamic. You can use them. You can use them in every place. Okay, chalo. Let's now go further with, yes. See, there are so many of the assignments as well. You can go and solve all of them. And please solve all these examples, right? Please solve all this. All right. Let's now go further with the next topic, and that is dynamic query. Dynamic, right? Now, this we have already discussed. Like I told you that there would be 3 points in rows on which we'll have to make a discussion. The first point number one is appearance. Appearance. How a static query looks like to be and how a dynamic query looks like. So I guess that point is absolutely clear in now. So the static queries, we always write a static query inside the square bracket, and the dynamic query, which I'll be starting right now, we're going to write it. But whenever we would create a dynamic query, it must always be enclosed. We are going to write it within the single inverted comma. So that was your first point, point of appearance. Now second point. Second point. Second point is about, let me take the third one first. I mean, under which circumstances we're going to write down static and under which we're going to write down dynamic, right? So I'll discuss that third point first and then we're going to see the differences as well. Point number two, हम ऐसा करते हैं कि point number two जो है हमारा, let's try to understand under which circumstances. Under which circumstances I'm going to make a use of static query or dynamic query. So let's first try to discuss that. ठीक है, चलो देखो, if you know in the beginning itself, if you know that what columns you are going to include it, if you are absolutely sure, I will just try to nullify this, I'll just try to dilute and explain you as far as possible. थोड़ा सा आप भी ध्यान से समझो. For example, if I would give you a use case, right? If I would give you a use case, let's say that you have to fetch ID, you have to fetch name, you have to fetch rating and industry and annual revenue from account. So if you know everything, right, in this statement is a very crystal clear statement. There's nothing in the cloud, right? This statement itself is very clear. Why? Because the statement is telling you you have to get the data of ID, name, rating, industry, and annual revenue from the account. So even before designing the query, you know from which object particularly, and second from which object, and second what are those columns, what are those fields which I wanted to fetch inside my query, because the statement itself is telling you to fetch ID, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, वगैरह वगैरह. So you know in the beginning itself, right? You know there is no ambiguity, there is no confusions at all. Even before designing the query, I know which columns, I know which fields I have to include them inside my, because that is given to me. That information is available to me. That information is available to us. So if everything what you requires, if like all of those fields name, columns name, whatever, see why I'm saying the column because ultimately we are fetching them from database, right? If you would ask me, sir, what is an account? I'll tell you. Account is an object. But when we consider this from the database point of view, account is a table. What is a rating? I'll tell you, oh, rating is a field. Inside object account, rating is a field. But when we see this from the database point of view, we're going to say, oh, rating is as a column inside account table. So basically, it's one and same thing. They say, every coin has two sides. In the same way, what we can say in Salesforce is like, we can look at the object from two different perspectives. If we are considering them from the front end view, from the user interface, we can say this is an object, this is a tab, this is a field. And same thing when we are looking it from the database point of view, what we can say, this is a table name, account is a table, rating is a field, or rating is a column. Understood? So don't make yourself confused when I'm saying this as a field or as a column. It's one and same thing ultimately. So when you have all those information ready in your hand and you know particularly what you are fetching and from where you are fetching. What you are fetching means the name of all those columns, the name of all those fields. I am fetching ID, I am fetching name, I am fetching annual revenue, rating, industry, ownership, billing address. So what I am fetching, I know what I am fetching. And from where? I am fetching it from account, contact, the name of the object, the name of the table. So when this information is clear in the beginning itself, when you know what to fetch and where to fetch, then we always go with a static query. Guys, listen this very carefully. Nobody would going to teach you like this. I have taken almost, I guess, 5 to 7 lectures just on SOQL. You won't believe this. When we were taking this training, it was just 2 sessions. They have taught this in the 2 sessions. I mean, not everything, of course, because हमने तो Salesforce को 4 महीने में, but that was very limited. उसके बाद बहुत सारा था जो हमको नहीं बताया गया था, but we have explored. So देखो मैंने I have almost taken how many sessions I have taken just I have invested like 3 and 3 6 and today's is 7 and still relationship query और dynamic ले तो मेरे को शायद I guess I am requiring one more session. So I am whatever I am teaching you is in very detail. It's in very detail. You are getting a lot of explanations. Believe me, you are getting a lot of explanation about everything. Considering you are now from a non-technical background, I always consider it. And most of you, I ask you that question. I guess nobody of you is from a computer background, so I consider that, and that's why I try to explain it. I try to dilute this as far as possible. That's why I require so much of the session. I always used to say, I cannot finish this whole syllabus in just 3 to 4 months. It's not possible. I would probably require, I myself would going to require like 5 to 6 months, double of that, because I know up to what extent I used to explain the topics. So whenever we have what to fetch and from where to fetch, if these two things, ask this question to yourself. If you are getting confused between what to apply, should I go with dynamic or should I go with a static query? If you are getting confused in these two, don't worry. Just ask two questions to yourself. What are those fields which I wanted to fetch? If you have a list of all those fields, if you have a list ready with you, right? These all are the fields that I wanted to fetch. These all are the columns information I wanted to fetch. And then from where to fetch? From where to fetch? Like account. I need to fetch all this. I need to get this from account. Contact. So if you have answer to these two questions, what to fetch and from where to fetch, if you have answers of both of them, then definitely you can go with the static. Then definitely you can go with the static way. All right. Now, 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 if you don't have the answer of any one or both of them, if you don't have the answer to any one or both of them, you don't know what to fetch, or rather you don't know from where to fetch, or maybe you don't know both of them. But that answer is coming dynamically in runtime. What to fetch is coming dynamically, or where to fetch is coming dynamically. Then you'll have to go with dynamic. Now, what does it mean? Don't worry. If you would have not have understand, let me design a diagram for this. Let's consider we are having a visual force page or maybe a lightning page. Let's consider we are having a user interface like this. There is a page like this. There's a page like this. And this page is asking you, for example, this page is asking to you, for example, enter name or email. Let's consider this page is asking to you, enter an email, enter the name or email ID. Enter the name or email ID. And then there's a small, text box over here. Okay. We are asking the user either to enter the name or email ID or email ID. And then there is a button called as submit. And then there's a button over here called as submit. Let's say there's a button called as submit. There's a button called as submit. Try to understand this. So we're going to design a similar kind of user interface when we're going to study Visual Force page. We're going to design a similar kind of interface that time. Let me try to show you first of all. Maybe that would help you out more. So I guess I have certain inputs for 201 touch. So try to show you if I have those logins 20. Sure whether these passwords would. No, it's working. That's good. Right. So let me try to show you a similar kind of interface so that you would understand what exactly I am talking about. Right. So design so many of the Visual Force page over there. For integration, you would also going to get design things. Search city. Search with show weather details by city. Show all account information. Maybe that. No, that's not. This is not. I guess this is the page I'm looking for. Let me see what I have designed in this page. All right. See, I was talking about a similar kind of interface. Although this looks to be a little different, but yes, I was talking about a similar kind of interface where I mean, we will put up a question and for the user, enter the postal pin. For example, I'm putting up this, and when I make a search, when I have an action button, search, so it's going to display like the records of that. Like as you can see, I have entered this postal pin code, and it is displaying me all the informations related to that postal pin. Right. This is something called as integration. We're going to see this. We have this topic integration. This is after development. It's going to be the next topic integration. So I was talking about a similar kind of interface, right? I have designed a few of them, like I guess city pages also that. Try to show you that preview. I guess this is also similar kind of interface. Yes, if I was asking about, let's say, show the weather condition. So this is all integration. See, it's not coming from the sales field. By the way, it's coming from an external resource. Average temperature in Nagpur is 33 degree. Maximum temperature is also 33. Nagpur is cool, very good. What about Pune? But humidity is 43%. Oh my God, humidity is 52%. That's very horrible. Anyways, so I was talking about this of kind of interface where we are asking the user, either to enter. For example, we wanted to search a lead record or maybe a contact record because account doesn't have email. So I'm putting up a question like enter the city name, right? In the same way, because you can see I'm putting up a question over here that let's say I'm asking enter name or email or maybe something like contact number. ऐसा कुछ तो भी मैं उसको बोल रहा हूँ. And then we have a text box. We have a text box. We have a text box like this. We have a text box. Just like this interface, just like this interface. This interface. And then we have an action button. We have an action button, submit or something. And based on what he has entered, we are going to display the records in a table below to this, below to this. Just like what are getting displayed over, right? So I was talking about a similar kind of where we have design and user interface in the front end, either by using Visual Force page, as you can see, or maybe with a Lightning page, right? You can design the front end as well in Salesforce. Salesforce is a full stack technology where you can design the front end, you can also design the back end. So everything is customizable. Salesforce is 100% customizable. We can design a 100% customizable product, and that's the reason we used to say we provide a 360-degree view of the process of the business process. Like we can design the front end, we can also design the back. So this was an example where I could show you like I have designed the front end part with the Visual Force page. We are using Lightnings for this rather Visual Force page because Visual Force page, I mean Lightning is more flexible and more graphically enhanced as compared to your Visual Force, right? But that's a different story. That is a different story. And good part is like once my portion would getting completed, classic one, you are going to get the trainings on Lightning as well. So yeah, that is a good part. So this training uh, consists of both of them. Anyways, so I was talking about an interface of this kind where you would ask the user to either enter the name or enter the email address. And there's a button, there's an action button, submit or search, whatever you can write the labels, you can make the changes. And then there are two possibilities. There are two possibilities. Let's now talk about that. See, now I'm going to show you that uncertainty where we would not be sure what to include in my query. Let's consider if user is select from, let's say, contact. So if user is entering, for example, if user is entering name, then I would say select ID, comma, name from the contact where, let's say, where name equals to, where name equals to, let's say he has entered Kasim. I'm not sure that we have any such records like Kasim. Let me try to make certain. Like operator, I'm going to show you. Don't worry. अभी सिर्फ मैं use कर रहा हूँ. Note it. So, let's go to contact. Let me try to pick up a simple part. Try to just give me a moment. Let me get to the right data. So, set the name. Okay. Oh, got it, got it, got it, got it. See, so basically, let's now understand. So you have design and user interface. You have design and user interface where you're asking a question, rather two questions to user. You are giving two possibilities to your user. You are asking them either to enter name oblique email. Okay. You're asking your user either to enter name or email. So obviously there are two possibilities. Now user could enter a name or maybe user could enter an email ID. And then you have a button called as submit. Have a button called as submit. And what is going to be happen when he submit? Based on what he has entered. Now let's say I'm going to explain you all these operators like and everything. Don't worry. More important अभी अभी जो है वो ये है कि to understand the differences between dynamic and static. Where to use dynamic, where to use static. All right. So there are two possibilities over here. Try to understand the uncertainty. Try to understand the confusion over here. If you would understand this confusion, then definitely you would understand what I'm going to say. What I'm actually trying to make you convinced. Understand. There are two possibilities. What the user is trying to enter over here. Maybe he could enter like Tim bar. This is my first possibility. So if he's entering Tim bar over here, the query would contain like select ID name from contact where name equals to like bhul jao, where name equals to Tim bar, where name equals to Tim bar. Let me try with that. I just try to where name equals to actually this that is Mr. Tim bar उसलिए नहीं दे रहा है मैं और देखो क्या Mr. John try with C. Okay. चल equals to operator. देखिए. So if he is entering a name like Timbar, if he is entering name, you're asking him either to enter name or email ID. Based on name, अगर उसने name enter किया, so we're going to fire a query, we're going to design a query, select ID, name, or maybe like, email from the contact where the name equals to Timbar, where the name equals to Timbar. अब ये एक पॉसिबिलिटी है. दूसरी पॉसिबिलिटी ये भी तो हो सकती है कि he would enter email over here. He would enter email over here. अगर ये email enter करता है तो फिर मेरी क्वेरी बदल जाती है. फिर मेरा क्वेरी ये नहीं आता है, नेम नहीं आता. फिर मेरा क्वेरी आता है कि where email equals to let's say this one, where email equals to this email ID. उसने अब मान के चलो कि यूजर ने ये वाला ईमेल आईडी यहाँ पे एंटर किया, इस बॉक्स में यूजर ने ये एंटर. सो फिर उसके हिसाब से मेरा क्वेरी चेंज हो जाता है. तो अभी यहाँ पे इस अनसर्टेनिटी को समझो. देखिए, what this is my front end and we are asking either user to search a contact record, we are asking user either to enter the name or email. What he's going to enter in the what he's going to enter in the runtime, that we are not sure. There's obviously an uncertainty. We have two possibilities with us. Either user can enter a name and begin the search. If he would enter a name, we'll have to search the record inside in my where clause. Inside in my where clause, I'll have to include the conditions for name, like where name equals to what he has entered over here. What he has entered over here, right? Whatever he has entered over here. So based on that, I'll have to impose my condition inside the name, right? यहाँ पे मुझे वो conditions डालनी है, but that would be based on name, where name equals to this. But there is again one possibility, because we are asking him to enter name or email. And what would happen if he had entered the email? So I'll obviously have to make, I cannot make a condition like where name equals to that. No, in that case, my condition becomes changed. Conditions totally get changed. Now you'll have to apply where email equals to what he has entered. So there is this uncertainty. This is just an example, a small example. I'm going to talk on a few of more of them. But yes, in the beginning, let's try to understand this. So whenever you have this uncertainty, or rather whenever something is coming dynamically in runtime, this information is coming dynamically in runtime. Once he would enter, he would press the submit button, and then this data is coming up to us. Till then, we have no idea. We know that there are two possibilities. Either he could begin the search, either he could initiate the search based on name, or he could begin the search. He wanted to search the data based on email ID. If he would ask, if he would enter the name, my query would like, where name equals to whatever he has entered. But let's say if he's entered the email ID, the query is totally get changed, where email equals to this email. So whenever you have this two kind of possibility, whenever you have this kind of possibility, not two, where you have this kind of possibility where what to search or maybe from where to search, that is coming dynamically in runtime. That is coming dynamically in runtime. Then we cannot go with the static, because static query is a concrete query. When you know everything, when you have all information available with you, what to fetch, absolutely no. Where to fetch, absolutely no. Then you can definitely, that's a concrete query. When everything is in hand, we know everything, then we can go with static query. But for this kind of requirement, where something is coming dynamically, maybe that could be the name of field or the name of object. This you have to search. Okay. From where you have to search, that is coming dynamically. Or maybe this, maybe from where you have to search, the name of the object is given, but what to search is coming dynamically. Like just I have explained you. You have to search it from contact. Okay, I at least know the name of the object. But what to search? Based on name I have to search, or based on email ID I have to search. That is coming dynamically. Or maybe both of them. What to search and from where to search. That is coming dynamically. So if the entities are not known in the beginning, rather they are coming dynamically, and this is very common, understood in real time. You have seen so many of that kind of interfaces, isn't it? आप देखिए रियल टाइम आपके आसपास के इंटरफेसेस को जिसको आपने यूज किया है, दिस इज अ वेरी कॉमन टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स व्हेन यू एंटर समथिंग एंड देन द डेटा कुड गेट. अभी मैं आपको एक नॉर्मल सी बात बताऊं, लाइक आप फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर बुकिंग समथिंग फॉर यू, मे बी अ होटल बुकिंग और रिजर्वेशंस आप कर रहे हो ट्रेन का या कुछ भी, तो यू वुड हैव सर्टेन एप्स फॉर देम, राइट? आईआरसीटीसी का एग्जांपल आई अभी रिसेंटली लिया है. तो इन द बिगनिंग इटसेल्फ इट वुड आस्क यू फ्रॉम एंड वेयर your destinations. Now you tell me one thing, is it going to it is going to static data? Is this a static data कि मैं जिंदगी सारी जिंदगी में मतलब नागपुर से यही शहर में जाऊंगा? नो, दिस इज नॉट अ स्टैटिक डेटा. अभी ये जो इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड करता है आईआरसीटीसी आपको, मे बी देयर आर सो मेनी गुड वेबसाइट्स. So I guess yeah, Indian Railway. All right. So अभी देखो, if there is this a kind of interface, seat availability. So I was trying to get a simple, yeah. See, this is a small interface. Now what you have to enter, first of all, your date of journey. It had by default it has taken the system. चलो ये तो default हो गया, ये change भी कर सकते हैं of course. For example, I wanted to travel on maybe like some other date, so I can definitely, I'm not sure why it's not working. Yeah, so for example, I wanted to travel on this date. Now these two informations, or rather these all three information is coming dynamically. अगर इसके backend में कोई query design भी है, so that query depends on what you are entering from your from the front end part, right? So if for example I am entering like Nagpur, NMC, NMG, I guess, NGP, okay, and then I wanted to go to Ahmedabad, right, on this date. Then if I would 31 plus 80, my God, what is 8 plus 20 is this is 110, I guess, if I'm not wrong. My math is very bad. No, it's not. 80 plus 30 is how much, guys? 110 and 1. So it would be 101, I guess. Capture maybe itna. Okay. 88. 88. हाँ, चलो, at least see you queried for this. Now this information is coming. So whatever, if this is coming from an SQL query, let's understand if this is coming from a database. This these informations, these all information which is coming, which is binding with this query, is have absolute dependency on what you are entering in the front end. So what to fetch or where to fetch rather. If that information is not clear and particularly is coming is have a dependency on what is going to be get come the parameters that are coming from the front end. If there is any front end, if there is any checkboxes, whatever, and that information is coming, then there is an absolute dependency. We cannot go with static. Like अभी देखो आपके यहाँ जो मुझे information मिला है, this information is related to what I have entered in these two boxes, और other three इस date के ऊपर इस date से इस स्टेशन से इस स्टेशन तक. तो ये जो information display हुई है, this is coming from the database, but then the SQL query जो design हुई थी इसके backend में, that absolutely is having a dependency on these three parameters, and these three parameters are dynamic in nature because they are coming from the front end. So with this kind of, which is very common, this is very common. This is very common that we would going to get the parameters dynamically in run, and that's why in Apex programming we have two different forms of SQLs: static, which is very rare in real time examples; dynamic, which is very common in real time. Because in most of the real time interfaces, parameters are being collected from some front end. From some front end, the parameters are collected. These parameters are being transferred to your query, and then query would perform its execution and give you the result, whatever. So it's very common that in a real-time interfaces, we are going to ask for the parameters dynamically in runtime. Maybe we are collecting them. Query always have a dependency on what is coming from the front end. Based on whatever has been collected, the query is modified every time. So this is what is a dynamic SQL. All right. Now, the third part is your assignment. I'm giving you this assignment that you would have to find out, go to Google and find out what are the differences between a dynamic and static SQL. So this is your assignment. This is your assignment, right? So tomorrow I would go with this example, right? That's all I have today. If you wanted to ask anything, please go ahead. Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Any questions? Nothing? Silence would always be taken as no. Thank you so much for joining.